Coming up on Hoge Jahns, a tie, a preseason tie. Is there anything worse than that? Actually, there's a lot of good things to talk about from this game. We're going to break it all down. Hoge Jahns starts now. What's up? Welcome in, Hoge and Jahns, back with you, and a football game to talk about. So, it's preseason, but it's still good, Johnsy, to have some actual football sort of to break down. We got a lot to break down on this show.
Sort of. It is real football. It doesn't count. It was a tie, so it counts even less. Maybe. Is that how it works? I'm not sure. But Ben Johnson's first sort of game as a head coach, and I think there were some good moments for him and his team.
I actually felt good for the fans that went to Soldier Field yesterday, because people don't realize, well, I think people do realize this, Bears tickets are expensive, and yesterday was a good opportunity to get some cheap tickets to go to a game. And I have to say, all the way to a lot of preseason games, it's like a snooze fest in the second half. You're not even watching. It was entertaining all the way to the end. You had both teams trying to win it. You had some actual unfortunate plays, actually, at the end of the game that could have won the game for either team, and neither team could capitalize, so it ended up in a tie. That part sucked, but at least it was entertaining to the end. If you got out there and maybe you're not usually able to go to a Bears game and you went out there, so if you're one of those people, good for you.
I love the over-energetic fan who was completely locked in for every play and learning the names and screaming those players' names as the Austin Reeds of the world.
And you're not talking about the kid umpire in St. Louis. You're talking about the Bears game.
Bears game. yeah.
Because that was the most entertaining part of my entire weekend, was David Kaplan versus the kid umpire in St. Louis. I mean, that's the type of feud that we need in sports.
Take that.
Just a grown man getting agitated. He's really agitated about his team sucking, but they keep showing this. It's fantastic stuff. I love that. All right, so what we're going to do here on this show to kind of break down what we saw yesterday, what matters, kind of pair all that out. I like how Ben Johnson apparently put it, and Tyson Bagent relayed it too post-game. The game didn't count, but it mattered. That's what they said, right? I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, depending on a lot of players.
Yeah.
No, it mattered. Yeah. Let's not. Yes, we joke about preseason games, but for young players developing, young players trying to make a team, veterans trying to stay in the league, it matters.
Yeah. So it depends who you are. So what we're going to do on this show is get 10 players that it seemed like this mattered. And there's even a couple, at least one, that didn't even play in the game that we think mattered. So got a lot of notes here, a lot to get to, and we're going to jump right in. But we're going to start with the headline and a battle that definitely does matter and can have a huge impact actually on Caleb Williams' season, and that's the left tackle battle. Johnsy, you wrote about this too, allcsgo.com after the game. Make sure everybody checks out that column, become a diehard. You can go to hoganjahns.com and become a diehard right then and there.
Good deal, I believe.
Yeah, I think the $36 deal is back, so you can still jump on that. And we did see a new Hoge Jahns shirt at that joint practice the other day.
Oh, you saw him too? He said hi to me.
Yeah, it's out there. It was good. So if you're coming out to practice this week, there's only 3 more open practices. They're all happening this week, but hopefully you're able to get that shirt already. The hatch should be coming soon, I believe, too. So we'd love to see that out of camp. All right, we'll start with the left tackle battle. Braxton Jones, and then we'll talk about Ozzie. But let's start with Braxton Jones. You had a chance to talk to him after the game, too.
So we have the snap counts officially out this morning, and Braxton Jones was on the field for 24 snaps. Ozzie Capillo got 37. So the rookie, even though it didn't feel like it at one point, ended up playing more snaps than Braxton Jones, but Braxton Jones was the one who got the start. He was on the field with Tyson Bagent. He was removed in the fourth series. Talking to Braxton Jones after the game, just at an individual level, yes, he struggled. Yes, he gave up a bad pressure during that touchdown pass from Tyson Bagent to Maurice Alexander to the back of the end zone. Everybody has seen that. But just from an individual level, Braxton Jones taking the field and getting those 24 snaps to him were like 24 steps in the right direction, even though he lost a couple of those battles. He needs them. He hasn't played since he got carted off on December 22nd against the Lions. This is the first time he took the field since his surgery where he played a live opponent. I know practice has felt live, but this was a game. Got to go through the whole pregame routine and whatnot. So for him, at an individual level, this was a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty this. Let's be clear. I think the whole last week was an important step for him.
Yes, and he said that himself.
Because he, even before the game, you just saw in practice, he was more involved last week. He was getting more reps overall. They've been easing him back in there. So it's been kind of a build-up. More of a subtle ramp up though, because even early on in camp, he's been out there since the first day, at least doing something. The pads have been on, he's been out there, but there's been honestly at times somewhat of a confusing rotation to me. I even thought yesterday was a little confusing too, and we'll get into this with Ozzie, where Ozzie was in, then he was out, then he was back in. I don't know what was going on there, but so I don't know that the results. How do you judge this game for him? Because I'm buying what you're saying. I'm buying what he's saying that, hey, this whole thing's just a good step in the right direction. But you still got to at least be a little concerned by a few of those reps in that game and how sort of blatantly he was beat. The most notable of which was on the touchdown throw. Good job by Tyson Bagent, who was still able to get a catchable pass off to Maurice Alexander that scored a touchdown. But Johnsy, Braxton Jones got beat to the inside there by I don't even know who, like a second, third stringer.
I had his name last night. Hold on, I had his name yesterday. Here it is again. Number 42, Grayson Murphy, undrafted, I think out of UCLA.
Okay,
a year ago.
Well, we're not too far off from Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel coming off the edge in week 1 on Monday Night Football. There's still some time here, but you got to be at least, I would think, a little uneasy about where Braxton Jones is right now with only a few weeks to go.
Well, I'm trying to put it in his perspective. This is what he said after the game. The joint practice, this is Braxton Jones, sorry, quote. The joint practice the other day was the first day where I was like, okay, I'm starting to get the hang of it. My body's getting used to it. I'm starting to feel the new ankle and stuff like that. It's just an upward trend. What else did he say? At this point, I'm still getting my wind back, but my ankle's responding well, and it's the biggest thing for me right now. Just going through things like that and just making sure I'm recovering well and things. But the training staff has done a phenomenal job taking care of me and doing the right things, as well as the coaching staff too. I'm just excited to keep on climbing that mountain. Obviously, there's going to be some days that are not what you want, and I've had those days, and they'll continue to come. But it's how I respond. So I think, well, yes, you don't like seeing those losses from your left tackle on tape. I don't think physically he's where he wants to be right now. And I'm not sure when he's going to hit that point where he feels good, where he hits that 100% cliche. I don't know if that's going to happen for him because he underwent major surgery in his left ankle. I mean, you and I have both looked at his legs, that they're not the same size. And he talked about that a little bit, just about how his right leg is significantly stronger than his left leg right now. And that's a thing. It's a real thing that he's got to go through. So I'm just trying to look at it from his perspective. Yes, he had those losses, and yes, it's probably something he can learn from, as they always say, watch the tape, get better, all that. But physically, I don't think he's where he wants to be, and I'm just starting to wonder, when is that going to happen? Like, will it happen at some point before the season opener?
I think that's the big question. So I think we leave Braxton Jones here as sort of a to be determined, with the door continuing to be wide open for number 2 on our list here, Ozzie Trapillo, Giant Johns.
Yeah, baby.
So as you mentioned, he is your baby. 37 snaps. When it was all said and done, that turned out to be half of the offensive snaps in this game yesterday. I'm looking forward to getting the end zone angle so I can kind of watch this a little bit more close. I was hoping to have it this morning. Do not have it at the time of the recording. But watching live, I thought he held his own. I thought there was a couple times you could tell he was getting pushed backwards a little bit more than you want, but he didn't give up the pressure. So he still, did his job. So it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough. And so I think for the first time in the NFL, playing a position you haven't played in a few years, even in a preseason, edge to Ozzie in this first preseason game. I
would still probably give it to Braxton Jones because he played first, just from like the team perspective, but individual performance, is that what we're getting at?
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, all right, then. Well, yes, he played good enough, and I think what you said there is like important context that's often forgotten within this competition, that Ozzie Trapillo has not played left tackle in quite some time, a considerable amount of time if you think about it, and that's at the collegiate level a couple of years ago. So, yeah, for him, just like Braxton Jones, a step in the right direction. There was a play on the goal line where, I forget the Dolphins player, but the left tackle got beat. This was right after the fumble. Bears are first and goal, and Dolphins get a tackle for loss. I was ready to mark Ozzie Trapillo down, for a negative play there. But Scott Bear, our friend, pointed out, no, that's Theo Benedict. He had entered the conversation here for the left tackle competition. I'm not sure how serious the Bears are about this, but Benedict played 45 snaps, starting at right tackle, moving to left tackle. I'm not sure what to make of it. At one point, he replaced Trapillo, then Trapillo came back. So maybe that's part of the Bears' plan. I still think this is really a two-horse race with Jones and Trapillo, but yeah, when you're a left tackle, and we're not talking about glaring mistakes like we are with Braxton Jones, I think that is generally perceived as a good game for any offensive lineman.
Yeah, so I guess my conclusion here with these two left tackles is still seems wide open. And I think there's a way to look at this like glass half empty, that at this point on August 11, as we record, no one's really seized the job, and that might make you a little uneasy. It's probably making the coaching staff a little bit easy, probably making Ben Johnson a little uneasy. On the other hand, I think both of these guys, as we've detailed here, have valid excuses for why this isn't clicking immediately. Braxton Jones is still not to the health point that he was at last year when he got hurt, and it was a very serious ankle injury. And Ozzie Trapillo is a rookie who hasn't played left tackle in a few years. So there's going to be some growing pains here. So I think the glass half full is like, this still could be a lot worse, and there's still time here to figure it out. But I think after this first preseason game, I look at this competition like it's still wide open.
Yeah, and you got the Bills coming to town. I think more answers will be, well, you'll have more plays to digest, different competitions to add to the conversation behind the scenes as the Bears decide to, like, eventually they're going to reach a point where this is our starting five. We're moving forward with the starting five. It's time to build some chemistry. As good as Joe Tooney is, I'm sure he would like to know who his left tackle is heading into week one, probably starting with that final preseason game in Kansas City.
Right. Yeah. All right, let's move to number 3 on our list of important players from this preseason game. How about 6 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hits, and a forced fumble. If that was in a regular season game, Austin Booker would easily be Defensive Player of the Week in the NFL. That was a hell of a performance by Austin Booker. Now, important caveat. He did this last year too. Not quite to that level. That was pretty impressive. But he dominated the preseason a year ago, and it wasn't against starters really. Once the regular season came around, it was obvious that, he wasn't quite up to the strength standpoint, little light in the pants. He still is, I would say. So
I love that you're talking like a scout. Keep going.
But he is. I mean, it's true. So do I don't know. I guess I'm just still skeptical.
This guy who's light in the pants threw a couple offensive tackles to the ground on his pass rush moves.
That's what I'm encouraged by. Like, he does look like his play strength is better than it was last year. I mean, that was a really impressive sack, the forced fumble.
Yeah.
Where he just completely, like Khalil Mack, the guy, tossed him 5 yards, somebody who's bigger than him, and then made the play and knocked the ball loose. So there is definitely some of that should translate to the regular season.
And a couple things on Booker. I'm still caught up on his age. He's 22 years old. He's he's like literally still like potentially still growing. Seriously. So he's got room to add to his pants to fit your description, your scout talk. Number 2, like his relentless pursuit of the football. Like there's always a spot on a team for players of his size, his stature, his speed, who play that hard every single snap. Like he's on the team. We're not talking about him being on the bubble. It's finding where he fits in certain rush packages. Can he get better against the run? Yeah, sure. It's fine. He's 22 years old. That could happen. He's got to get bigger and stronger, and that will happen. But at the same time, his pass rush and the way he plays with just his hair on fire, Dennis Allen's going to find a spot for him. He's going to be part of that 4-man pass rush where he gets his best pass rushers on the line of scrimmage and moves them all around. Like I'm just envisioning him on stunts and whatnot with that speed and that relentless pursuit. So step in the right direction, big step in the right direction. How are we doing this? So like today, like Sunday was a huge positive for Austin Booker. It's a win. How are we grading this?
Yeah, no, I think I think we just say it's a really good day for him. I was never worried about him making this team, but I was starting to get to the point in camp where I wasn't writing 94 down enough, and I was starting to get just slightly worried on what his role might actually be. But I think he is on a list of, and I've talked about this a bunch, I feel like in camp, a bunch of guys who I feel like will benefit from this scheme. I don't know if he totally fits the ideal build of a Dennis Allen defensive end, but what I do know is that taking a talent like he has and that motor that he has, and putting him in a scheme that allows you to freelance a little bit more, that isn't just like, hey, you're the 4-3 defensive end who's supposed to go rush the passer, and this is what we do, and it's pretty stagnant, which is what the last scheme was. I think that Dennis Allen's creativity will be able to get a little bit more out of him. I was probably a year ahead of this comp, but I'm wondering now if it's a actual possibility this year. But I remember last year bringing up Mark Anderson for, the Bears rookie who the Super Bowl year was a rotational guy, but had a massive season because they used him and they kind of as a change of pace guy off the bench, and he racked up sacks and had a big year. Maybe that's obviously I was a little too ahead of that last year, but maybe that's more of a possibility this year with the added strength he does have and this defense.
I think the Bears are a team who I don't want to say desperately needs, but they definitely need a pass rusher to emerge somewhere. I'm not sure if that's going to be Dayo Adangbo or even if Montez Sweat has like a monster season. Like someone needs to produce, in my opinion, like 5 to 6 sacks, 5.5 sacks. Perfect number. If they can get that from Austin Booker, I think that is more than surpassing certain expectations set for him, maybe heading into this year. And I get that he doesn't fit the scheme fit in terms of his physical makeup, but again, the way he plays so hard, that fire, that motor, as you said, Dennis Allen will use it. He'll find the right matchups for him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's on Dennis Allen because I think if they're just going to ask him to put his hand on the ground on the outside and rush against left tackles, right tackles, one-on-one, chances are he's not going to win a ton of those battles.
4.5 sacks, 12 QB hits, like just add a little bit, and it will go a long way to enhancing this defense.
But so you can scheme up those rush lanes where that energy and that motor is going to get pressure and maybe some big plays along the way. So yesterday was a very encouraging day for Austin Booker, no question about it. All right, got another defensive guy to talk about and a bunch of other guys on this list as well. We're going to take our first time out here on Hoge Jahns, though, but a lot more to discuss after the Bears' first preseason game.
What is Sunnyside? Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. What are some of the amazing features that make this brand or product awesome? It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city from Wrigleyville to River North to the suburbs, including Champaign, south to Beloit, and much more. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HIGH, CHGO, at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 years old plus or Illinois medical card holders. For existing users, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item.
And that summer heat is definitely out there. Training camp heat. Your AC better be up for the challenge. And if it is or if it isn't, you just need to get it checked out. 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. They've been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. Now is the time to get your air conditioning checked out. 4 Seasons experts are ready to help you with AC installation, maintenance, and repair. 4 Seasons expert technicians ensure that you always receive reliable service, and they don't charge you more on nights, weekends, or holidays. That's big. So get your 4 Seasons AC tune-up today. Save $50 and enjoy a 1-year no-breakdown guarantee. And if you need a new AC or furnace unit, you can save up to $4,000 on new comfort systems with 4 Seasons. Your trusted local experts are 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit 4seasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's 4seasonsheatingcooling.com. All right, Johnsy, keeping it on the defensive side, I thought it was very important that Noah Sewell kept the momentum going from his strong training camp, which hasn't been perfect, but it's been good. It's been enough that he is the favorite to win the Sam linebacker job. And on a defense that was mostly backups, pretty much all backups yesterday, except for probably you include Noah Sewell in that right now as one of the starters, going up against the Dolphins' first-string offense on that first drive. For them to get a stop and for Noah Sewell to be a big reason why that stop occurred. Remember, he actually forced a fumble earlier in the drive, too. It just happened to go out of bounds, but it did back them up a few yards. And then at the goal line, he came up with a huge stop on 4th down, too, which had Ben Johnson really excited. When you carry that over into a preseason game like that and you're competing for a job, I thought that was big for Noah Sewell.
There was a point during the joint practice when I'm standing I'm in the stands with Braggs. Braggs in the stands. Greg in the stands. What was his old tag? Braggs in the stands?
Braggs in the stands.
Braggs in the stands. So I'm in the stands with Braggs.
We'll keep him there.
Yeah. So, and we're watching the first team defense when they're coming out in their base grouping, where they started to rotate different guys in. A couple guys in. We were wondering if Noah Sewell is healthy because that's been his story. Staying healthy and staying on the field has been an issue for the third-year linebacker. So to see him go in and out a bit, you're wondering what's going on. He was one of the stars of this first preseason game, and everyone was looking for him. And he was out of the locker room like instantly. Like as fast as he was in the backfield for that tackle for loss, he was out of the locker room just as fast. People wanted to talk to him. We wanted to hear from him, but he was with his family. I get it. But, I mean, his story is the TFL, he flexes, Ben Johnson flexes. That is good for anybody winning any position. When the coach flexes with you, you should probably start. And I think that's where we are with Noah Sewell. Right? Let's not overanalyze it. You flex, head coach flex with you, you belong in the defense. So a good game for a player who I think the Bears might have challenged a little bit during their joint practice with their rotation at the strong side linebacker spot.
Yeah, I was trying to get, so he played 31 snaps, was about 46%, and had 6 tackles too, to go along with that TFL and a forced fumble. So, yeah, good game for Noah Sewell, important for him. All right, now we move on to a wide receiver that, let's call it what it is, had a great week. And I don't know if he was on our radar before last week, but it started in the very physical Tuesday practice last week, where amongst all the physicality that was going on, undrafted free agent wide receiver Jahdae Walker out of Texas A&M was making plays. He was making plays all over the field. He was having a strong day. So it's sort of a footnote to a bigger discussion of the physicality that day. But then he carries it over into the game yesterday as well, and has not only a nice touchdown catch on a good ball from Case Keenum, but one of the more impressive touchdown celebrations that you're going to see.
Well, that's that like viral dance skip where it looks like they're floating.
Like you're walking on water or whatever, right?
Yeah. Right.
So let's see. What did he finish with here? Walker finished with 3 catches on 5 targets and a touchdown. Averaged 13.7 yards per catch on those 3, so puts up 41 yards. I thought he could have come down with that other one of the 2 non-catches, though, I thought could have been a touchdown, too. So I think that'll be part of the evaluation. I'm sure Antoine Randall, when he's coaching him up, that'll be part of the discussion, too. It wasn't the easiest catch in the world, but it did hit him in the hands, and it looked like the feet would have come in bounds if he had caught it right away. So it wasn't a perfect day. But Walker, I don't know if there's really a spot here for him, but he certainly helped himself with staying in the NFL in the past week.
So let's go through the receiver room. You got DJ Moore, you got Zacchaeus, you got Burden, and you have Rome Odunze. Those are your 4 locks, right? Am I missing anybody else? Duvernay?
See, I don't know if I'm fully locked up on Duvernay. I think he's likely, but I don't know if I'm all the way there.
He's your kick returner, punt returner. I'm going to say yes. Is like, I mean, do they even keep 6 receivers?
Special teams. And I don't know how much Jahdae Walker is going to help in that area.
Well, let's look at the snap count. 2 snaps on special teams.
Yeah. So somewhere in there. But so DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Olamide Zacchaeus.
Duvernay.
You know what, though? I don't know that we could completely rule out, if we're talking about him keeping another one beyond Duvernay, Maurice Alexander's got to be in the conversation too. He's been, not only has he been making plays in camp, he's seen time with the ones almost always with the twos, and he had a nice catch yesterday as well.
Well, let's not forget that Miles Boykin, before he suffered his injury, was actually on the field with Caleb Williams and the starters in various spots. And with his, like he's built as a different receiver. He's a larger receiver, and I think, let's see, how big is Walker? 6'3", 206. That's a different size receiver for your room. And I think Ben Johnson, if we go back to what he said at the owners' meetings, he wants that. He wants a blend of different sizes, speeds, talents, and abilities.
I just don't know if there's going to be enough reps to go around to keep him on the 53. But that's, I mean, prime practice squad candidate. Maybe on the verge of one you worry about losing, but we talk about that all the time. Very rarely do you actually lose these guys. It does happen, but most times they clear waivers.
I think if they're talking about that 6th receiver spot, Walker's case, Alexander's case, like you can make better arguments for them as opposed to Tyler Scott at this point.
Yeah. Tyler Scott seems like he's very much on the bubble.
Very much.
Yeah. All right, next on the list, we're going to combine these into one. Tyson Bagent and Case Keenum. What'd you think about the quarterback play yesterday?
Sorry for hearing papers. It's me going through this game book. So the 3 quarterbacks combined to go 26 for 39 for 224 yards, 3 sacks, 3 TDs, a long of 26, 1 interception from Tyson Bagent for a passer rating of 96.5. Case Keenum's passer rating, 139.6. He was 8 for 10 for 80 yards, 2 TDs. They were good. Case Keenum was good. You know, when he was standing in the pocket and taking hits, you know, like taking on the contact, but still able to get the ball off. I thought about that year he had with Minnesota when he was darn good. Remember that year?
Yeah. He was just making plays.
Yes. It had flashbacks to that. Quarterback play was fine, beyond serviceable. I think the Bears know they have 2 good backup quarterbacks. I think the conversation, like I don't think the Bears are at a point with their injuries where you have to change your conversation about keeping 3 quarterbacks. I think the Bears are going to keep 3 quarterbacks on this roster. Do you make anything out of Bagent playing over Keenum as the starter?
No.
I do. Like, no, I think he earned that in a sense.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think he's the favorite to be the backup and has been. And I think in these settings, you also think about it like a preseason game. What are you going to learn? Who are you going to learn more about at this point in their careers? There's way more tape on what Case. They know what Case Keenum is. Like they're giving him an opportunity to compete, but they know. Everybody knows what Case Keenum is at this point. The question is how much can he push Tyson Bagent and either elevate Tyson's game or, like sometimes happens in a competition, it's too much pressure and the guy starts to struggle, like PJ Walker a couple of years ago, right? Now, that's not what's happening with Tyson Bagent. So I thought yesterday Case Keenum was the better of the 2 quarterbacks in that game. But I think if they were going into week 1 right now, I still think Tyson Bagent would be listed as the number 2 quarterback on the depth chart, as he was last week, because they had to put out a depth chart before the game. And so he got the start.
When Carm is driving later to Hallis Hall today or later this week and he hears this, he's going to love it. Tyson Bagent's 3rd and 15 completion to Luther Burden, that's an outstanding play.
Yeah.
It really is. And he was under some pressure as well. Outstanding play. Way to get through his progressions. Way to find the open receiver. And good job for Burden for realizing where he was within the sticks. He had to lean over and get that first down.
I mean, Burden had a couple. Well, let's save that for a little bit later because he's on our list here too. But Bagent had a little clutch factor to him in that game. I mean, you have the 3rd and 15 completion on that drive, and then The touchdown was on 4th and goal. And he's got a man coming right into his face. And he's able, Ben Johnson explained it post-game. He came off his first read and had to throw it to his second. Now, I don't know if Monangai was the third read. He was wide open underneath, but he didn't have time to get there.
Yeah.
And so he put it up.
If you're just following the progression of Bajan's size, it was Smythe, Alexander, and I would imagine the check down to Monangai was third.
Right. But there wasn't time. And so he did the high back 5 throw and boom. Maurice Alexander. Alexander's not on our list, but let's not minimize that. That was a big play for him. He had 4 catches for 19 yards in that touchdown. All his catches were a lot shorter, though. All right, so I kind of view the quarterback situation after this game, same spot. I don't think it's really changed the order. I am wondering, though, will they reverse the order of the quarterbacks? Like, will Keenum, because in practice they've been alternating days, will Keenum get the opportunity to either start the game if Caleb doesn't play against the Bills or be the number 2 quarterback against the Bills? And I'm tempted to say no because of that point I just made.
Yeah.
You're going to learn more about Tyson in these preseason games than Case Keenum.
He needs the reps. He needs the snaps in the system. And again, I think he's earned that by being so good in the classroom and having his good moments at Hallis Hall as well.
What did the snaps end up being? I know what the pass attempts were.
I got him.
Bajan had 32 snaps. Keenum had 29. So they ended up splitting for the most part. All right. Number 7 might surprise you. I brought this up on CHGO Bears yesterday, too, because I just thought it was very notable. I don't know when camp started that I would have considered Gervon Dexter to be among the guys that would just be sitting on the sideline with the starters in this game. And so I don't know, there's not much more that we need to say about it, but Gervon Dexter has had a very good camp, in my opinion. I think he's a very good fit for this defense. But you go back to March, and this was a guy who seemingly was sort of losing his starting job because they go out and they sign Grady Jarrett. And not even in uniform to start the game is this is an example of a very good sign for Gervon Dexter and how they view him, how Dennis Allen views him, and his importance to this defensive line.
He's had stretches of dominance. And I'm not pumping this up. I'm not overblowing this, but he's had stretches of complete dominance in training camp. He's had against the Dolphins, major flashes of what he can do. I think this scheme fits him better. I think playing next to Grady Jarrett fits him better. Were you surprised that Andrew Billings was also, because he's come up in discussions, he's I think we all can acknowledge he's put on some weight, maybe part purposeful to fill a need here for the Bears, but he was also inactive against the Dolphins. I think that's a good sign for his roster spot. I don't think I was ever going to put him on the bubble, but there are points in times where you're wondering where he fits.
Yeah, Andrew Billings, I've been talking this guy up now since he became a Bear. I thought it was a great signing at the time. He earned a second contract. He's been really good. It just the additional weight this year was a little surprising, and I just didn't know how he would handle it. I don't see any major concerns there. In fact, there was an encouraging moment in practice Friday because he got hurt. He got a little banged up in that practice, and I was like, uh-oh. And then he came back just a few snaps later and was fine. So I'm not concerned about Andrew Billings. I think the headline here is that Grady Jarrett, Gervon Dexter, and Andrew Billings were your 3 interior defensive linemen who were just considered starters and didn't need to play yesterday. So that's why we put Dexter on this list. All right, number 8. Tyreek Stevenson does play, which I was not surprised by. This does seem to be a competition, something And Nahshon Wright's earned the opportunity to continue to make this a competition, in my opinion. I don't think Tyreek Stevenson struggled at all. I think he's had moments where you're still wondering if he can keep his cool at all times, including in Friday's practice against the Dolphins, when in one of those scrums. But what'd you think of him playing in the game?
So he was on the field for 16 snaps. So is Wright. I think that's a little bit above the range that at least Ben Johnson said after the game. They were looking for 10 to 12 snaps for those guys, so they're on the field a little bit longer. I mean, he was fine. The ball didn't come his way. I don't like it at all. Did it? I mean, let me look at the stat. No, Wright was a different story. They went after Wright. And sometimes it has to deal with your coverage. Sometimes it has to deal with just the run call.
Yeah, but it might give you an indication how the Dolphins were looking at those matchups.
True.
Since this is a competition between Wright and Stevenson, I think it's notable that they were going after Nahshon Wright.
So Nahshon Wright officially had 2 tackles, but I feel like he had a lot more action than just 2 plays. I know he missed a tackle,
right,
as well, and yeah, Stevenson, nothing here on the defensive stats page at all. So not tested. He said that himself. The ball wasn't around me. I'd like to think this is the Bears. I think Stevenson is going to be the starter. I really do. And I don't know if there's just extra mind games going on here with the Nahshon Wright stuff. He's been fine. He's been good. He's a tall, long corner who presents different challenges. But I still think Stevenson, the way he plays, even with that extra tenacity, the way he walks that line, that's part of what the Bears want to be. He's got to stay on the right side of that line more than the opposite, but I think he's your starter. And maybe this process, this Dennis Allen competition, which he is serious about, is a way to, for sure, it's a way to get better play, more consistent play out of Tyreek Stevenson, a second-round pick from a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, and I think we got to give credit to Nahshon Wright because I think he's continued to make this a longer competition. I tend to agree, though. I think, everybody's healthy in week 1. Obviously, Jalen Johnson is on the field and Tyreek Stevenson is on the field and Kyler Gordon. But I don't know if we know that for sure. We don't know that Jalen Johnson is going to be back for week 1.
Oh, no. I mean, until we see him at practice, till we actually see him doing something physically. Like, even then, is there a ramp-up period? Is he ready for, 100% of the snaps against the Minnesota Vikings? Or do you need your guys who have been a little bit battle-tested in this scheme, guys who have actually played and heard Dennis Allen's play calls on the field?
Also of note, though, Terrell Smith left the game yesterday with a groin injury. So we'll have to monitor that because that's a depth piece and somebody we know they trust too.
Yeah, it's never good when the designation is doubtful upon the first news as opposed to questionable and he's downgraded later. Doubtful right away. Not good.
No. So maybe a hit to the cornerback depth.
He's been playing well, really, really well. He was one of the Bears' better players at the joint practices. We had that in our recap on Friday.
Yeah. All right, we need to take one more time out. We got a few more guys to get to, including, I think we're actually going to go over 10 because there's at least one other guy I need to throw in at the end, too, something that was notable yesterday. So we got a little bit more coming up here on Hoge Jahns. Hey, if you missed out on our Hoge Jahns introductory diehard offer, good news, because about half of it's back. You can still sign up and get all of our diehard content for $36 for your first year and get a free shirt when you sign up. It can technically be any CHGO shirt, but the t-shirt, the new Hoge Jahns shirt, is still available. You lost out on the hat. That's the bad news. But the good news, you could still get the shirt. You could still get all of our great content, including what, Johnsy?
Well, first of all, we saw that shirt at training camp. So please keep sharing your picks and come say hi to us. I got my column about Braxton Jones and Ozzie Capillo up there. Our friend Patrick Norton has his notebook from the preseason opener against the Dolphins. And there's just so much more coming. I think everyone will really enjoy it.
Plus, you get 20% off all merch and events. We got some great events coming up, including 2 different Wrigleyville rooftop takeovers with our diehards. This coming Friday, the 15th, and next Monday, against the Brewers on Monday night. 2 different rooftop takeovers. You get 20% off if you are a diehard. So great reason to sign up right now. And that includes all of our tailgates, too, during the season. And if you want to go even bigger than that, come to Vegas with us with True Fan Travel. It's all going down September 26th through the 29th. And this has been so popular, we ran out of rooms at Mandalay Bay. So right next door at the Luxor, connects with the tram. We got more rooms for you. You can still come sign up. It's going to be a great time. The biggest thing that this includes is a game ticket. You have a guaranteed ticket to the game, which are hard to come by right now. Lance Briggs is coming. So you get an event to meet Lance Briggs, custom t-shirt, trip badge, the whole deal, 3 nights, pep rally, tailgate. It's all happening in Las Vegas. We're going to have a great time. Some live broadcasts included. We went to London last year. We went to Arizona. Both trips were awesome. Don't miss Las Vegas. TrueFanTravel.com. Check it out right now. All right, Johns. Luther Burden, the third on our list. He had 2 catches yesterday. Both of them were significant catches. One was a 3rd and 15 catch and run completion where he was aware of the sticks. The second was the Bears getting an opportunity to run 1 play right before halftime, and he did a good job of catching that ball. I was a little nervous that I thought he could have gotten the sideline just a half a second faster. It seemed like originally the clock ran out, but they reviewed it, and he just barely got to the sideline, giving Cairo Santos an opportunity to kick a 57-yard field goal, which he made. So those were 2 big plays by Luther Burden where he showed some good football awareness at the same time. And then I also would throw out the one incompletion that went his way. It was definitely not his fault. Tyson Bagent was high on a throw that was also on 3rd down. And he was about to get clobbered. I know Jim Miller kind of said on the broadcast he thought maybe Burden could have gone up and get that. That was a pretty high throw, and there was linebacker, safety. Somebody was coming over to crack.
He still got hit.
He still got hit, but it could have been way worse if he had just totally sold out on the catch, which you don't need to be doing in the first preseason game, in my opinion. So that was on 3rd down. That was more on Bagent than Burden. So I thought it was a good debut for Luther Burden.
Yeah, I'm not criticizing him for protecting himself in that situation. First of all, there's a high throw through traffic, and he was surrounded by 3 or 4 defenders, and they're not exactly running in on him. They were like right there. So this isn't the Super Bowl. This isn't a playoff game. It's okay if the rookie wants to get his bearings just in terms of the speed of the game, what the contact will be like. But I was going to use the same word you did, awareness. I like the awareness on the 3rd down. I like the awareness to get out of bounds as quick as he could. Yes, it was close, but he did it, officially did it. So it counts in my books. That's a positive play. His awareness in those situations was, positive for him. And so him like running out of bounds reminded me of a play in that joint practice where he ran out of bounds on a longer reception, and Antoine Randall in this case was like on him, like, no, I want you to make a move when that final defender tried to go score. At least that's what I'm thinking the conversation was, because I feel like there was more room to run. So you see him learning here. But that awareness in that moment, in an important moment right before the end of half, you like to see that. That's a positive play where he gets it, where he understands the bigger picture of things.
I like 1st down catch rate percentage. And so both of his catches went for 1st downs. And that 3rd one, had Bagent thrown it accurately, also would have been a 1st down. And that would have been on a 3rd down conversion too. So I get that it's a preseason. It's not craziest coverage of all time, but good debut for Luther Burden in a role that I could see that being his role, right? Like Roma Dunze's covered, DJ Moore's covered. Who are you going to find? And that's where I think Colson Loveland and Luther Burden are going to play a pretty large role pretty early on in the season. By the way, Colson Loveland not on our list, but I think even just the lack of snaps in the game shows you that how they view him already.
6 snaps, just 6.
Get your feet wet, kid, and get ready for the season.
He was targeted in the first play.
was incomplete, but yeah. All right. Number 10, Ryan Bates. How much of this
center?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm worried about the backup center spot. I'm gonna be a little careful here because I don't know this for sure. But reading what I've been watching in practice and then how they were using the game, I think Luke Newman might have lost his opportunity to play center.
Yes, but it's for now. I think that's how I would clarify the conversation. For maybe for now, I'm sure he gets an opportunity down the line. Maybe when he's on the practice squad, he works at it. But we knew it was going to be a transition. Now it's been a little bit more bumpy and choppy than I'm sure the Bears wanted it to be. But I'm not willing to say like he's done playing center.
Well, we'll have to see this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I'll be watching that this week.
Yeah.
Because he kind of lost his center reps. It was rough there with the snaps. And meanwhile, I thought he was looking pretty good playing guard and even blocking at center. It was the snaps that were the problem. So I think that they were correctly trying to avoid Ryan Bates having to play center when camp started. And now it's kind of flipped because
Doug Kramer's hurt.
I don't know how viable Doug Kramer is as a ideal option either.
Well, I had Ryan Bates to this conversation because we were starting to see him as he was the first reserve in for Jonah Jackson.
Yeah.
Like he might be at this point your top interior reserve, a player that I think you and I are probably guilty of discarding or cutting or not even projecting to be in our 53-man roster. And now here he is taking snaps in the first or snapping the ball in the first preseason game. And we saw what happened, before that. He's the first reserve in for the guards. So I think he is on his way to securing himself another year on this roster.
Yeah. So let me be clear though on Ryan Bates. Like I think that's a perfect situation for him to be the swing guard option at center. I've just was worried about the shoulder and whether or not it would hold up. And I think that's got to be the Bears' concern too. Now, so far, so good. That's very encouraging. I think that's a good thing. But if he's healthy, I have no problem with him on the 53-man roster. In fact, I think that's the perfect role for him to be backing up multiple spots on the interior of that O-line. I think he's good enough to do it. He's done it. He did it with the Bills. That's why Ryan Poles wanted to. Ryan Poles just sort of kind of overestimated what he could be. But there's no reason why that acquisition should be a complete bust if healthy. I think the question is, does that shoulder hold up where he can actually play and contribute throughout the regular season?
All right, who's your extra player?
Cairo Santos. Because the more I watched that field goal he made from 57 yards.
And you love that hold, too.
It was a good hold. The snap was not horrible. It was not perfect either.
Great hold.
But on a 57-yard field goal, anything that's off the mark a little bit can disrupt the timing. So I think it's just worth pointing out. Good hold by Torrey Taylor. It's not that he made the 57 yards. Did you notice how high the kick went? The trajectory was way different than last year.
He crushed the ball.
That's why I think it's noticeable. I think it's even better than what we've seen in camp so far at times too. So I just found that to be very, very encouraging for Cairo Santos. Obviously something that they worked on in the offseason because he's got the leg to hit 50 yards. In fact, his 50-yard percentage is actually really, really good. But it's the low trajectory that became a problem last year with it getting blocked. So I just thought that's what was notable to me about it and why I wanted to include it here at the end of the pod, which is how high in the air that ball went.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Special Teams, but that didn't become a storyline until he was making 50-plus yarders, deep 49-yarders, whatever you want to call it, for years until last year when that became, who was the Packers, saw something on film.
Well, yeah, they saw something in the protection.
Yeah.
on film that they could exploit, and then didn't the Vikings do it the very next week too?
Yeah, it became a major storyline. But
Yeah.
this idea that Cairo Santos is some sort of bad kicker, I don't get it. I think he's been more than reliable for the Bears. Maybe I'm just still clouded and jaded from the kicking competition, but Cairo Santos is still a perfectly fine kicker for any football team, in my opinion.
Oh, without a doubt. And don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that, these amazing kickers now that are kicking in the league, the reason why you're seeing like the trajectory is still huge because the lower kick has a higher percentage of getting blocked, right? And so you have these kickers now. Did you see this kicker on the Jags the other day hit a 70-yarder?
70-yarder.
But the more you can get the ball up in the air, the less likelihood it's going to get blocked. So it's not that last year it ever became a concern that he was just going to start missing these 50-yarders. It was that they were going to get blocked. So the more he can get that ball up in the air, that becomes less of a concern. So just something to note. I thought it was interesting. Obviously something he worked on in the offseason.
And I think he's had a fine camp as well.
Oh, he's been making everything. There was one at some point last week.
Yeah, there was early though, but it was
a bad snap. It was what it was. It was a bad snap. Hole got down late, and then he pushed it to the right. But I think that was it. All right. Preseason game number 1 in the books. Mitch Trubisky and the Buffalo Bills come to town.
So we got our next show to preview that. Mitch's return. Preseason Mitch is good.
He looked pretty solid the other day, actually. I saw some of that game. I have to say this, though. I did not make it past 15 minutes of the first Hard Knocks episode before turning it off. It was boring, dude. So, but I feel like I need to watch. I need to go. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna finish the episode. I'm gonna watch this week's because it's just I feel like I got to prep. The Buffalo Bills are on Hard Knocks. If you don't know, I feel like just for prepping for the weekend, I need to at least watch these first 2 episodes. But I gotta say, and it was about Josh. A lot of it was about Josh Allen too. So that should be interesting.
He married a movie star.
He did. So I don't know. You know what the Bills have though? A new stadium.
Yeah.
You could see it.
This challenge still stands for the Chicago Bears. When the Bills come to town, if you manage to get talk about your own stadium into their Hard Knocks episodes, I'm board for whatever you want to do on Arlington Nights. I will help you promote it. I will call Governor Pritzker myself to help on the politicking path. Because I think the Bears might need help in that regard. If that's the vibe I got from Friday's press conference, that late press conference edition to our schedule.
I mean, credit to George McCaskey just saying it how it is. We got to do a better job of convincing these lawmakers. He said it again on the broadcast yesterday. He was on the broadcast in the third quarter, and he doubled down on that statement. We should also end the show, speaking of the broadcast, by shouting out Stacey Dales, who was in the booth as one of the analysts on the Bears broadcast yesterday. She was awesome. Like, I mean, she's been a long-time guest on the show. She was just on last week with us. You guys know that. But that's the first time I've heard her in a non-reporting capacity during a game in the booth as like an analyst. And her football information was fantastic. It was really, really good. She was great. Great addition by the Bears to the broadcast team. Thoroughly enjoyed watching the game yesterday with Stacey Dales involved.
I obviously won't get to experience her broadcast until later when I rewatch the film, but great friend of the show. She's awesome what she does.
Fantastic. All right. We are out of here. Thanks to our producer, Katie Langen, for producing and putting up with Cap arguing with a child, an umpire child all weekend. Katie's the best. And we will be back in a couple days. What?
Nothing.
It's great.
We'll be back.
No more kid umpire talk, please. Cap.
Why not? I think
I think you're missing an opportunity for a new podcast, personally.
Cap and the Kid?
Cap and kid.
Cap and kids.
Cap yells at kids. Take that. I love it. Oh, I got a kick out of that. All right. Yeah, we'll be back, I think, on Wednesday this week with another episode. We'll preview what's coming up this weekend with the Bills. Appreciate you watching, listening. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Send the pod off to a friend. Make sure that you are subscribed on your podcast apps too, and rate and review it there. We appreciate all the love and support since Johnsy and the show moved over to All City as well, part of the CHGO network. You can find us in more places than ever. Find us on Instagram now too, and Katie's putting some clips up there. We got some. And for some reason you missed the Ben Johnson interview too last week. Go back and check it out. There's some good evergreen stuff in there. Especially when talking about Caleb, talking about play action. Some very important insight that Ben Johnson was gracious enough to give us in that interview. So make sure you go back and check that out in case you missed it. And all of Johnsy's stuff, my stuff too. We've been writing some joint pieces. We had a good reaction to the joint practice. Friday, we'll do it again this week. All available for diehards at allchgo.com. We'll be back in a couple days.